It is June 1st, which means it is officially hurricane season. And joining us today in the studio is Danny Ramirez. He is our EMS chief, but also our EMC, Emergency Management Coordinator. And he'll be sharing with us a lot of information and advice on how to stay prepared for hurricane season. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So there's a lot of information we want to share with our community, right, Danny?
Absolutely. There's a lot.
It runs from June 1st till the last day of November.
November, correct.
So what is, what do you want to tell our community? First of all, I think it's very important that we share with them what we do as a city to prepare year-round.
Right. So the first thing I want to say that when we get ready for disasters, it's a whole community approach. What does that mean? Well, as a city, we do a lot of stuff to prepare, and we're going to cover that. But as a community, they should be doing things also to prepare, and we're going to cover those things as well. So as a city, throughout the year, we're constantly monitoring the weather because climate change nowadays, we're getting some severe storms even when it's not hurricane season, as was the issue in March. So as a city, we're always clearing out the drainage ditches. We're always keeping an eye on the weather. We're always making sure that our pumps are up to speed. Maintenance on the pumps is essential, on our generators as well. And then when it comes to like public utilities, making sure that our lift stations are working correctly. And so we're always constantly maintaining and on alert and ready for any storm that comes.
Exactly. So we work on this year round, but it's very important that, we share with our community what they need to do on their end, right? So one of those things is Code Red. Mm-hmm. Tell us what Code Red is for all of those that are not yet registered.
Sure. So Code Red is our mass notification system in the city. We use that to alert our residents when something's going on. And we just don't have to alert them. Code Red does it automatically. So as an example, when you register, it's going to ask you for your address and for your phone number and for an email. And what that does is, based on your address, the geolocation of your address, if there's a severe weather warning in your area, then Code Red is automatically going to send you a message. It doesn't matter what time it is, at 3 a.m., at 4 p.m. It's going to send you a text message, a phone call, and an email. And it'll send you that message until you acknowledge it, right? And that way you know something's going on. Additionally, we use that as a city to notify the public when something's going on. As an example, when we have a water line break and we're doing maintenance on that water line break or we're fixing it, that affected area will get a little polygram, if you will. It will highlight that neighborhood, and all of those people that are affected will get a phone call, an email, and a text message letting them know that we're working on the problem and estimated time of fix, and if there's any issues, a phone number to call. And so we use that constantly, almost on the daily, letting the residents know something's going on. So by registering to Code Red, it's important. One other thing about Code Red is that when you register, if you download the app, a lot of cities in the valley use Code Red. So if you have it on the app, if you have an app, as you're driving through a city that has an issue, you also get that alert for that city. So it's very important
that geofenced.
Right, it's geofenced according to where you're at. So if you're in Houston, Houston uses it. And so if something's going on in Houston, as you drive into that geofence, you're going to get a message, this is going on in our city, that way you're alert.
That's great. So not only here in your home, but as you're traveling throughout the state, it could be very helpful.
It could be very
helpful. So that's
helpful.
an application that you can download on your mobile device.
Right.
Completely free.
It's completely free. And then you register as a resident in the city, and then we send you the messages based on your address.
Okay, and that's the best way to stay updated and stay connected and receive information.
Receive information from the city when there's a storm. The number one way is always going to be if you have a NOAA radio, right? Because that NOAA radio is going to go off all the time. They're silent until there's a message that needs to go off. So that's the number one way. Another way that we send messages out is IPAWS, which is the Integrated Public Alert Warning System. That's similar to Amber Alerts, right? It takes over your phone, whether you're silent or not, whether you have a registered or not. And so that's a new way that we're working on starting to send messages out so that we can also do the geofencing. But we want people to download Code Red because that's the most convenient way, and that's what we use on a daily.
There's another program that is through the state, Danny, and that is STEER. This is for those with disabilities and for the elderly. Right. Tell us about that one. How do we register?
Sure. So STEER is a State of Texas Emergency Assistance Request. And so what you do is you register through 211. All you do is dial 211 and you tell them, I want to register for the STEER program. It's recommended that you register yearly because at the end of the year, that list is purged and we start from fresh because people move. unfortunately, people pass away. And so it's important that you update that yearly. Now, what happens is with STEER, as an emergency management coordinator, I am the custodian of the STEER records. In the city of Pharr, we currently have 203 people registered in STEER. And so what happens is when there's a storm, pre-storm, we are obligated by state code to call everybody on that list to make sure they're okay. And then after storm, then we call them again to make sure they're okay. And so if you're registered, whether you need the help or not, it's important that you register.
Okay, so if you have parents that live in the city of Pharr, maybe your neighbors, make sure to tell them about STEER. That way they can be on this list, and our emergency management team can make contact with them if they need to evacuate or in any sort of emergency.
Yes, ma'am. And when they call STEER, when they call 211 to register, English or Spanish, they're going to help them.
Very helpful, just through 211.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Danny, I see we have some items here. It's very important for us to prepare a kit.
Right.
To have plenty of water, some canned goods. I see a portable charger. There's a lot that we can do right now to be prepared in case there's a hurricane coming or just a big storm. Tell us about the items that you have on this table right now.
Yes. It's recommended 1 gallon per person per day of drinking water, right? This is for you to drink. This is for the restroom. This is to take a shower with. This is for you to drink. So 1 gallon, this is what 1 gallon looks like, 1 gallon per person per day, right? So if there's 3 people, I recommend that you have at least 3 days worth of food, right? At the very least, if in those 3 days, somebody's going to come help, something's going to happen where we can get you the resources. So if you have 1 gallon per person per day for 3 days. Also have a small first aid kit, the little red bag. Just a small kit, just in case somebody cuts themselves. They sell those at Walmart, at H-E-B, any store, they sell those little first aid kits. A little Wi-Fi device, right? We all rely on internet for everything, right? So a little Wi-Fi device, a lot of people have them. It's not necessary, but if you want one, get one. Just make sure it's charged, right? Along with that is a little portable charger, because we're going to lose power. And so making sure that you have a portable charger so you can charge your cell phone, so that in case you need to communicate with anybody or in case you need to call 911. And then some non-perishable food. If you're thinking I have food in the refrigerator, if we lose power, that food's going to go bad. We don't want you getting sick. So having some non-perishable food. And then a little flashlight, because you never know when you're going to need a flashlight. Some of the most other important things to do is the GLO, the Texas Land Office, they have this big bag that looks like a Ziploc bag, and it has a checklist on it. And you can write on it, and it has all this information. Along with that, inside that Ziploc bag is you put all of your documents. If you don't have that bag, just get a gallon-sized Ziploc bag and put all of your documents in there, so in case there's water, they don't get wet and damaged.
Batteries too, extra batteries.
Extra batteries is super important.
And these are things that maybe we already have at home, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just about creating that checklist and keeping it accessible in case the power goes out or there's a storm coming. We know exactly where it's at. And talking about power, Danny, we need to discuss safety tips on generators. There's a lot of residents right now that are out there looking for generators just in case we need them later this year. How can we properly and safely use a generator?
Right, so there's a bunch of different ways to use your generator. The best thing to do is if you're going to use a generator that ties into your house, that you have it professionally installed. Don't try to do it yourself, because that can cause a fire. If you're using a portable generator to power your AC, to power just your refrigerator, do not put it inside your garage. Make sure it's in a well-ventilated area. A couple of years ago, we had 4 people pass away in Edinburgh because they put it in the garage. That carbon monoxide that it's producing is odorless and colorless. It mixes with your blood more than oxygen, which is why people pass away so readily from it. So very, very important that if you're using a generator, make sure that it's in an area that it's well ventilated. When you're going to refuel it, make sure it's turned off, cooled down, then refuel it, and then start it back up.
Okay, and we'll definitely be sharing more information through our social media. If hopefully not, but if we do have a big storm or a hurricane coming. But how do we know, or when do we know whether we need to evacuate or just simply prepare a home and stay home? Walk us through that.
Right. So the evacuation, a mandatory evacuation can only be declared by the mayor, right, by state law for our city. When it comes to the county, then the county judge declares that the evacuation. He's not going to do that without consulting with the mayors first. But if we have an area that needs to get evacuated mandatory, then the mayor's going to declare it, and then we'll start making that message out to our community. But there are some cases where it just floods and people are wanting to evacuate, right? And so the best way to notify us if you need help getting out is calling 911. It's going to be busy. You're not the only person that's going to need help. So be understanding that when you call 911, it might take a little while before they answer.
And it's by priority.
And
Explain
it's by priority.
that as well. I know we went through this back in March.
Once they enter the call, then they prioritize it depending how critical that emergency or that evacuation is. If you don't call, then we don't know you need help, right? We don't. That's just common sense, right? So please, if you need to evacuate, call 911 and we're going to help you evacuate. That's in the case of flooding where you feel like, oh, I need to get out of the house, right? If it's mandatory, then the city is going to make that message known. What happens, a lot of people don't want to leave when it's a mandatory evacuation because they're worried about their personal items. Our job as a city is to make sure that we continue to patrol and that we continue to make sure that those items are safe. Your life is number one, always, over property. Life and property, and then everything else, right? And so our worry is going to be your life and then your property.
Definitely. And what are those things that we can be doing to protect our home? Securing our windows,
right.
The sandbags.
Right. So as a city, we'll give sandbags out. We give 6 per resident or 12 per business. Very important that when we do that, take advantage of that. Pick them up.
Even if you don't need them yet,
Even
right?
if you don't need them yet,
Store
right?
them in your garage.
So store them in a garage, store them in a dry place that's protected from the sun. So that way the bag lasts longer. It'll last a whole year. And if we give out bags again and you have an opportunity to go pick up another 6, then I recommend you do so. So then now you have 12. So you want to put those by your front door. If there is a storm coming, we recommend that you also board up your windows. You might feel like you're okay, but all it takes is a piece of wood, a branch to break a window, and now you have a lot of damage in your house. So additionally, boarding up your windows and putting sandbags around your home to make sure that water doesn't cut in.
And then don't forget about your pets. Make sure you bring them inside with you.
Right. So take care of your little Texans, right? Yes. Very, very important. I have 3 pets myself, and so they become family members. And yes, so you want to make sure you bring them inside. Don't let them go through the storm outside by themselves. If we do evacuate, we make it a point to accept pets, but you have to have them in a kennel.
That's part of your kit then.
Right.
Make sure you have a kennel for your pet.
For your pet. So if they sleep inside, hopefully they have a kennel they sleep in. Some people don't, but that's okay. But if you're going to evacuate, you have to have a kennel for your pet.
Okay. And now, Danny, it's important also just to have an evacuation plan to maybe get in contact with your family members that are in another city, right? Have that plan and say, hey, if there's an emergency, if there's a hurricane from now till November, can we stay with you, right? It's so important to have that plan for your family. Yeah,
very, very important that you're planning ahead, especially when it comes to time to evacuate. If you see a storm coming, make sure your car is full of fuel, right? Don't try to fuel at the very end when there's a mandatory evacuation. Yes. Be patient. Everybody's going through the same thing, right? Tempers can fly because everybody's trying to get out, but our goal is to try, if we have to evacuate, that we try to get everybody out safely. If you can afford a hotel, great. But a lot of us can't. And so we have family members throughout the state. The state of Texas is huge, right? So if you go to San Antonio, if you go to Laredo, you go to Houston, just make sure that you have a plan, that you're coordinating way before, not waiting for the last second.
Yeah, and we don't want anyone to panic. No panic.
Right.
Just be prepared.
Be prepared.
Be proactive.
That's
don't wait until you hear on the news, you hear on the radio that there's a hurricane forming or coming our way.
Right, absolutely. And so being weather aware and making sure that you know the weather at all times. When we do emergency planning for a hurricane, usually we have 5 days, usually. But there's been cases where storms have formed in 18 hours, right? And so 18 hours is not a long time to prepare. So we just have to be watching the weather, making sure that we're listening and that we're prepared.
And as the EMC, I'm sure you've been through a lot of situations, through many storms, recent hurricanes. What are some things you have noticed that you think is just crucial to really emphasize on and share with our community? At
a certain point, we have to protect our first responders also. In the city of Pharr, we have a policy that says if the winds are sustained at 45 miles an hour, not gusts like where it comes and goes, but sustained 45 miles an hour, then we stop responding to calls because it becomes dangerous for our personnel.
For everyone. There's not much you can do at that
point.
Right.
And so will we take a case by case? Absolutely. But our goal is not to respond so that we do not put our first responders in danger.
Yeah, so just be proactive.
Absolutely.
And we held a hurricane preparedness press conference last week. Is
Right.
there anything you want to share with our community? It was open to everyone, but for those that didn't attend, anything you want to share with them from that day?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is that understand that we're doing a lot as a city. I know that
Our
sometimes
drainage as well, it's
our,
been
right. Our
improved
drainage has been
throughout the
improved
city.
tremendously. I know that
Yes.
people think that it hasn't. You know, the storm that we had in March was unprecedented. Right. The regional detention facility that we're building is not done, but it held 50 million gallons of
Yes,
water.
it did.
If it had not been in the process of being built, all that water would have been in the neighborhoods, right? Even though we still had some flooding. So we just want the people to be patient, that we continue to work towards making sure that it's not flooding, right? The drainage is a big issue, but we're working on it constantly, whether it's building wider canals, deeper canals, the regional detention facility, or just maintenance. We have a lot of mileage of canals. So our public works department literally starts working from one end of the city to the other. By the time they get to that end, it's time to go back. It's like your yard. The grass keeps growing. The same thing happens in those canals. We get trees and brush, and then we get people that throw refrigerators in there, right? And we have to clean all that up. And so as a community, we need to take that approach that we want to take care of each other. Don't throw stuff in the canals and the drainage ditches because that's going to affect the flooding.
And just a quick update. Right now, we have at our DRC, our FEMA. FEMA
Right.
is there, TDM. Tell us about that for those that were affected by the storm in March.
Sure. So down at the Development and Research Center, which is our DRC and Pharr, 850 West Sticker Road, we have what's called a Disaster Recovery Center, a DRC, right? So not to be confused.
Yes.
So that is set up by FEMA and the Small Business Administration. Okay. So what they do is you come in and you turn in all your paperwork, right, that shows that, hey, I was damaged, I need help. If for some reason you don't qualify, then the Small Business Administration is there to give loans, right. No interest loans to the community also, right? So very important that you take a lot of pictures when something like this happens. And we were pushing that through the ISTAT. Please take pictures, take pictures. But now that they're there, now's our chance as a community is bring everything over, right? Bring everything over so that FEMA can help. Don't be discouraged, right? Just come, and they're going to be here with plenty of days to help everybody out.
Until further notice.
Yes.
Just stop by the DRC starting at 8 a.m., bring in all of
7
your
p.m.
information, bring your photos, and FEMA is there to assist. And it's also important to mention that the reason we were able to get this state declaration and then later the federal was because our community members, and of course with your help as well, they documented the damage.
Right.
That is how we notify everybody above the kind of damage that we've sustained.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's super important to, even right now, right, to just document a photo of our home, what it looks like now.
Right.
In case we do get a hurricane, we have the after photos.
Correct. Document everything. Take pictures, write down serial numbers of equipment, TVs, refrigerator, write everything down, as much information as you can, and take a lot of pictures. ISTAT, I know there was a just-in-time training with a lot of the community for ISTAT, but now you know what that tool is. Next time there's a storm, because there will be a next time there's a storm, when we say fill out your ISTAT, it's the exact same ISTAT. Now you just select the date and you go through the same process, right? So please make sure that you know how to use ISTAT. If you don't, reach out to us and we'll walk you through it. We're going to have, our goal is to have some more trainings for the community for them to come, and so that we can talk about preparedness and ISTAT as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all the info.
Thank
Anything
you.
else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, just thank you for having me here. And to the community, please be weather aware and be ready for this season. Hopefully we don't get a hurricane, but we should always be ready.
Thank you so much, Danny. And again, make sure to have a kit, to have an evacuation plan, and also register for our Code Red to be notified in case of a hurricane. See you next time.